Bring forth the raisins and the nuts. Tonight All Hallows' spectre struts along the moonlit way. No time is this for tear or sob, or other woes our joys to rob, but time for Pippin and for Bob and Jack-o'-lantern gay. Come forth, ye lass and trousered kid, from prisoned mischief raise the lid, and lift it good and high. Leave grave old wisdom in the lurch, set folly on a lofty perch, nor fear the awesome rod of birch, when dawn illumes the sky. 'Tis night for revel set apart, to re-illumine the darkened heart, and rout the hosts of dole. 'Tis night when goblin, elf, and fay come dancing in their best array, to prank and roister on the way, and ease the troubled soul. The ghosts of all things past parade, emerging from the mist and shade that hid them from our gaze, and full of song and ringing mirth, in one glad moment of rebirth, again they walk the ways of earth, as in the ancient days. The beacon light shines on the hill, the willow-wisps the forests fill, with flashes filched from noon. And witches on their broomsticks spry, speed here and yonder in the sky, and lift their strident voices high, unto the hunter's moon. The air resounds with tuneful notes, for myriads of straining throats, all hailing Folly Queen. So join the swelling choral throng, forget your sorrow and your wrong, in one glad hour of joyous song, to honor Halloween. Greetings and welcome to another episode of the Schorr Manor podcast, the podcast dedicated to all things Halloween and all things spooky. I'm Matt Schorr, Clarksville's king of Halloween, if I may be so bold as to call myself that, and this episode we opened up with a little poem called Halloween. Halloween was written by John Kendrick Bangs, who was born in Yonkers, New York in 1862. He was a humorist, an essayist, and a poet. He's the author of Half Hours with Jimmy Boy and From Pillar to Post, among several others. This poem was published in the book of, yes, Halloween, in 1919. Now this episode is going to be a little bit different from most of our other episodes this season. This one's mostly just going to be me. I'm dedicating this episode to, of all things, Amanda's birthday present. Now for those who know us, that might kind of date this episode you're thinking because Amanda's birthday is in June. Well, trust me, it is still very Halloween-centric because we kind of live our lives around Halloween. So, a little backstory here. Last year, I gave Amanda what is probably still one of my proudest moments. I gave her a life-size horse skeleton prop that we use in our yard as a Halloween decoration. She really, really loved that thing, and we ended up naming it Daredevil. We kept it on the back porch throughout the year up until the Halloween season rolled around, and then even then we only dared put it outside for a couple days. We didn't dare leave it out for the entire month. I'm kind of proud of how I introduced her to it. I was at work when it was actually her birthday, so she was at home since she's a teacher, so she has summers off. And I sent her a quick text asking her to go check on the back porch. I thought maybe the door swung open or something. So she walks outside really annoyed and angry and finds herself face to face with this life-size horse skeleton pretty much staring her right in the face as she walks in the door. So she was really excited about this, to say the least. Now, I knew that there was probably no way I would ever come close to duplicating that birthday present, but I wanted to do something that might live up to it at least a little bit. So I did some searching around and I found a couple of images on some Facebook pages that we follow where people took Christmas trees and decorated them all with like pumpkins and bones and bats and stuff like that. And I kind of thought, I could do something with this. I could duplicate this and make something similar. So I came up with this scheme of putting together a tree just for her birthday, which would strictly be focused on Halloween. And I ran with it from there. So what I did, I started slowly gathering up the different sort of pieces to this work of art, I guess you could say, over the course of several months. I ordered a tree, then I ordered some chain, then I got a few ornaments, then I actually ordered a full life-size human skull. It was fake, so don't worry. So then I had to come up with a way to put this thing together without her noticing, because what I really wanted to happen, I wanted to have this thing put together on the morning of her birthday so that when she walked into the living room, it would still be kind of dark, and this would be the only thing in the room lit up, so this illuminated Halloween-style tree would be right there staring back at her. Our house is not that big, and I had to find a way to put this together without her noticing. So I came up with a very small window. I gave myself about a week before her birthday to put everything together. And what I did, I actually did some live recordings as I put this thing together each night to create a sort of live journal. And that's what this podcast is going to be. We're going to be diving into all of those live journals that I put together. And don't worry, I'll come back here in my humble studio and I'll elaborate on some of what was going on, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the tree and how it all came together. And ultimately, we'll find out if I actually pulled this thing off. I know if I did or not, but I'm not going to give you guys any spoilers, so you're going to have to listen to the whole podcast to find out. But anyway, I believe that's some sufficient backstory. We'll dive into one of those live journals now, the day one journal of the first stages of putting together Amanda's birthday present. And then after that, we'll come back if we need a little bit more backstory to fill you guys in on what's going on. So, day one, guys. Amanda's birthday is approximately 1 week away, and I have started on the first phase, I guess we'll call it, of her birthday present. Last year was Daredevil, our phenomenal yard ornament, life-size horse skeleton, and I'm relatively certain that I will never live up to that again, but I hope that this attempt will be at least close. So right now, I actually have the tree put together. I've yet to put on any of the lights or the ornaments. That's going to come at later days as we move along towards Amanda's birthday, but I'm hoping that this was the hard part of the process. Looking at it now, it's not quite as full as I was hoping, but perhaps once I get all the spooky decorations on this bad boy, that'll make up for all that. And if it isn't super full, it's kind of the nice thing about something that's Halloween-centric. If it's not very full, it almost looks skeletal-like, perhaps, and that works in its favor. I had some help, I guess you could say, putting this thing together. Our daughter, Rowan, who, as I record this, is 5 days old. I had set her down while I stepped out here to start working on this thing, and I heard her crying, and I was able to get inside and tend to her before she woke up Amanda. So I brought her out here with me and put together the last half of this tree one-handed. I held her in one arm because she's so tiny. I was able to do that comfortably and put it together. And if you're wondering, yes, I am actually holding her with one arm now and recording with my free hand as I go. So now all I have to do is over the course of the next week, find a way to keep both Amanda and Callum off of the back porch where I'm hiding this thing, which is going to be an interesting course of several days as I do this. But we'll see if I pull this off. Fingers crossed. Everybody wish me luck. So yeah, day one. That was pretty simple, Having to do the last half of the job while holding a small infant in your arms, that was a little bit of a challenge, but Rowan weighed so little at that point that it really wasn't that difficult. And honestly, she didn't make a peep the entire time she slept through the entire process. So, about as easy as you could ask for. Can't really complain there. So, got the tree stood up about 5 feet tall, totally white. Every branch completely starch white. So that was the beginning. And got through it all with relatively no challenges. It was all pretty easy, pretty straightforward. No real trouble at all there. Day two, however, that's when I first started having some obstacles. Alright, so day two of Amanda's Operation Creepy Birthday Gift. This evening was fairly simple on paper. It was just putting the lights on, which I've done, and I'm now looking at it and reviewing it, and it looks really good. And the benefit of this tree actually being a little bit small this time actually kind of comes through. I only had to put one strand on it, and it filled it up pretty well. One thing I should mention, a little bit of scary story that kind of happened putting this thing together. I stepped outside to take out the trash before moving on to go get the lights. And the story about our lights, we actually keep those in storage underneath the house in our crawl space. And it just so happens that when I went to take out the trash, I went out barefoot. Now, this may not seem like a big deal, but I have since childhood had a really strong aversion to walking through grass in my bare feet. My mother tells me that I didn't do it as an infant, and in later years when I was a child, I distinctly remember one time playing in the grass in my bare feet, and some sort of insect bit the underside of one of my feet, and it swelled up like almost twice the size, and I had to go to the emergency room, and just that has stuck with me ever since. So I've always had this aversion to walking in the grass in the bare feet, but I didn't want to go back inside, which would kind of arouse suspicions, like I'm going back and forth. So I had no choice but to kind of trudge through the backyard barefoot to get to the crawl space. And of course it's evening and it's almost pitch black out here. So as I was walking through the backyard, I heard something scuttle super loudly through one of the bushes on the back part of our lawn, and I had my flashlight out with a shine down there, but of course, in true horror movie fashion, did not shine it in time to see whatever it was. Most likely it was just a rabbit or some other rodent, but I will never know for sure. Anyway, despite my best efforts to find it, I couldn't, so I just went on to the crawl space, crawled inside, and kind of rummaged around, again, barefoot under the house. A lot of spiders down there. In hindsight, I don't know what in the world I'm thinking, but I got under there and rummaged around and found the strands of light that I need. I got extras just in case I would need them. I don't, so I'm going to have to find something to do with these in the meantime. I really don't want to go trudging back out there in the dark in my bare feet again and really arouse suspicion from Amanda. So I'm just going to tuck these away somewhere and hope she doesn't find them, since I'm already trying to conceal this tree from her anyway. So we'll see how this pans out. So anyway, day 2, another successful step in this important mission. Tomorrow I will be starting up on the decorations and trying to turn this thing into a truly creepy Halloween-esque decoration rather than Christmas. So I'll check back with you again tomorrow night. Wish me luck. Okay, so yeah, not gonna lie, the experience of hearing something scuttling through the bushes nearby at an alarming rate of speed was troubling, to say the least. You shine your light over there and it's nothing to see, just straight out of a horror film. And yeah, that coupled with my irrational fear of walking through the grass barefoot just made for a really, really difficult evening right then. And it didn't stop there, because I had to go and crawl under the house, under the crawl space. And I don't know if anybody out there has watched The Haunting of Hill House. It's a fantastic series, don't get me wrong. But as I crawled under there, it's even darker beneath our house than it is in the backyard, if you can believe it, because absolutely no light shines down there. It is pitch black. And like I said, Haunting of Hill House, I immediately started thinking about the creature in the basement of that series crawling around, and I was just convinced at certain points that I would turn my flashlight around and shine it right on that thing as it's scurrying across the ground toward me. Again, fairly terrifying night for me, even though nothing happened, but all in the name of love, putting this thing together for Amanda. And since nothing happened, I think it's safe to say the whole thing was well worth it. Well, I would love to tell you that that was the one and only obstacle that I dealt with, but unfortunately, there were several more to come, and I hit another one the very next day. All right, day 3, and I've hit a little bit of a snag. Unfortunately, this afternoon, Amanda was doing some laundry, doing some of Rowan's laundry, and rather than put it in the dryer, she wanted to set it out to actually just air dry on its own. So she put the clothes out on the back porch, which is unfortunately also where the tree is currently located. And she
came in and asked, where did this tree come from? And the best I could do, I told her, well, it must just be left over from past Christmas decorations. Don't really think she bought it, but it's the best that I could come up with on such short notice. So tomorrow, the plan is to actually come out to this back porch and start clearing some of this stuff out, which is going to be problematic because I can't exactly put the tree together where she'll come out and see my progress. I want this thing to be a surprise. So I'm going to have to hold off on doing anything further tonight. I was hoping to put the decorations on it, including maybe the skull on the top, and really have the thing all but finalized, but I'm going to have to put it off for at least a day or two. On the bright side, I've still got a few days left before her birthday, so I should still be able to pull this off. It's just a little disappointing that I've set back. Didn't foresee the possibility of her coming out here any better, because darn it, she hadn't set foot out here in weeks, and now that I started working on this thing, of course, that's when, the opportunity would come with it. She would have to step out here, but it is what it is. So I'll keep working on this and hopefully still find a way to put this thing together and still be a little bit of a surprise for her, because surely she doesn't know my plans for this tree yet. Unfortunately, no progress tonight, but I will, if all goes well, dive back into it tomorrow evening.
Okay, so yeah, day 3 was a little bit of a setback, which was unfortunate. But, it wasn't the end of the world because, as I observed, I still had quite a bit of time left, and all that I really had left at that point was to put the decorations on, so I still had some time. I wasn't up against it just yet, as they say. All I had to do was just be patient, wait it out, and there was always the next day. I could come back and give it another try then.
Day 4, or night 4, I guess I should say. These have all been nights. I did some massive cleanup out here in this back porch today. I even took some time to break down our skeleton horse, Daredevil, as we call him. He currently is kind of sprawled out in pieces on our, I guess you would call it our patio table. It's interesting to look at without a doubt, seeing just skeletons and bones of a horse just all kind of laid out on a table where we would otherwise have picnic dinners and lunches, but that's par for the course in our household, I guess. I'm a little bit nervous about putting the decorations on the tree right now since we talked about doing some cleanup. It ended up just being me because Amanda had to tend to Rowan throughout the day. But I'm a little bit nervous that over the next few days she's going to end up out here again and see the progress that I've been making. So what I've done is I've brought all of the decorations that will go on the tree, and they're in boxes so they're concealed from view. So I've deposited them underneath the table here. So the table and Daredevil are both kind of hiding them. I mean, there's really no way to tell what's in these packages, and Amanda does not want to just go rummaging through stuff. So I'm thinking maybe for tonight, I'm just going to leave this stuff here so that when the time comes the night before, perhaps I can, it'll be kind of a rush, but I know exactly how I'm going to be putting these on here. So I'll just put everything on there the night before and quietly scoot everything into the living room and try to light it up for when Amanda walks in and sees it. So not a ton of progress today as far as the tree and decorating itself goes, but I think I'm kind of in a good position so that when the time comes, I can put this thing together relatively quickly. But there's plenty of time for things to go wrong, so hopefully they don't. But one way or the other, I'll do another update, and we'll see how this goes.
Okay, so a little bit of progress there, as you can see. Definitely would have liked to have gotten more done at that point. I remember thinking that, but, at least everything was in one place. The tree was there with its lights all put together, just waiting to be decorated. In those boxes there was the chain, there was decorations, there was also the big skull that I was planning on using. There was also a tiny wraith out there, so that was all set to go. Everything's ready, just waiting for that opportunity, dying for that opportunity to be placed upon that tree. But once again, I was just going to have to be patient. Just going to have to wait and see if I could have another opportunity to put this thing together the next day.
All right, so it's day 5, and I, of course, got nothing done today. Luckily, everything is out here on this back porch and ready for me to decorate this tree at a moment's notice if needed. And I do still have 2 days until Amanda's birthday, so I don't think I'm in bad shape just yet. At least as far as timing goes, I'm a little bit nervous that since she spotted the tree a couple days ago, she knows that I'm up to something. Because she wanted to do cleanup out here, but she has not come out here since saying that. It could simply be that she's been too busy with our daughter Rowan. Lord knows she and I both have been incredibly busy keeping both her and our son Callum corralled. But I don't know, I just have this sneaking suspicion she knows I'm up to something and she's just avoiding the area so that I can still get my surprise in for her. But I don't know, we'll see. Luckily, I do have a second project I'm working on at the same time, putting together a sort of stuffed animal zoo for our son. I'm putting the finishing touches on that right now, so who knows, maybe I've got her convinced that that's what I'm really working on out here. And my poor excuse that the Christmas tree is just leftover decorations from last year, maybe that actually did fly. I don't know. We'll see. But anywho, 2 days left to go, and I feel like I'm on track, but we shall see. Time will tell. We'll just see how this goes. So I will, once again, I'll keep you posted again tomorrow on what happens. Okay, so yeah, that day was a complete bust. Not complete. I did get some work done on Callum's zoo, so hey, that's exciting. Nothing other than that. So yeah, kind of a bust and a disappointment. So yeah, really nothing to add to that day. Just bunch of nothing there. But let's move on. Let's just go ahead and move on to the next day. Maybe I'll fare a little bit better there. Okay, day 6. I got nothing done today. I did finish the other project I was working on, that zoo for our son's stuffed animals, so progress on that front, but the downside to that is I no longer have that to mask the tree that I'm working on. So I'm having to hold off because at the moment Amanda is actually wide awake. She's making some notes of plans and stuff for groceries, so I was able to sneak away to do this recording out here. And she wants to do some work out here tomorrow, so I gotta find some kind of an excuse for this tree, and it's gonna be really hard to make excuses for it if I've got the whole thing decorated. So I'm gonna have to let everything just sit and just do it at crunch time tomorrow night, and then slide it out there while she's still asleep, and hopefully do it before Rowan wakes up wanting to nurse again. So we'll see how that goes. So yeah, kind of all or nothing tomorrow. So definitely wish me luck. Okay, as you can tell, I was right up against it there. Really let myself come up on deadline. But, not altogether my fault, if we're being fair. I mean, I had to lay low a few times. I had other things that came up. It's not like I was just being lazy. It just had all these obstacles constantly getting in the way. But regardless, the fact of the matter remained, I was right up against it. It was either all or nothing. It was do or die time. Come the next day, I absolutely had to get this thing put together, or my whole plan was going to fall apart. So, what do you guys think? Did I do it? Did I make it? Did I not? I could keep you in suspense here. Just sit here in silence, even though I'm recording. Just let the mic get nothing but dead air and make you guys wonder. This is where, if this were a reality show, we would immediately cut to some kind of commercial, and you guys would have to sit through a whole bunch of really obnoxious ads selling you stuff that you absolutely do not need. Speaking of which, you should totally sign up for our Facebook page. But anyway, without killing any more time, let's just go ahead and get right to it. Do I pull this thing off? All right, it is day 7. This was, of course, crunch time. This was the day that I had to get this done. Otherwise, this whole thing was going to be a failure. And I am proud to say I have got this thing finished. I was worried yesterday about putting something together that day because Amanda talked about cleaning out here on the porch all day, but circumstance and our newborn daughter just did not make that possible. So I could have put it together and it wouldn't have been a big deal. But I did it now. It's put together and it looks fantastic. This white tree with Halloween colored ornaments all over it. It has a really ominous looking chain that I used for garland, and there's a little bitty skeletal wraith figure holding Amanda's gifts on it, which happened to be, if you're curious, the Fantastic Beasts film The Crimes of Grindelwald, and Poppin's Pumpkin Patch Parade, written by Kimberly J. Brown. For those who may not know, Kimberly J. Brown is the star of the famous Disney Channel original movie series Halloween Town. And of course, anybody listening to this knows who Kimberly J. Brown is. If not, get out and watch those movies right away. Anyway, the tree is together. The gifts are there. It looks fantastic. It's all lit up. All that is left to do now is for me to wait for Amanda to be asleep, preferably not in the living room where she is currently sleeping, and find some window in between the times that Rowan wakes us up to be fed so that she can walk into the living room and see this thing lit up. That's my goal. So this is going to be the real test tonight, making sure that I can find that window and make this happen. So wish me luck there. And hopefully the next time I check in, Amanda will be with me, voicing her thoughts on this gift and what she thinks of it. Okay, are you guys breathing a sigh of relief? Because I certainly did. The tree was put together. I felt so happy to have that thing together. I'm going to be honest with you, for several days I was really worried about that. And I hope you guys felt a little bit of that suspense the way that I did. Hope some of that translated well through those live journals, because it was such a weight off of my shoulders to have that thing done. And yet, as you can tell, this was not finished yet. I had one last task to do. I had to find a way to get this tree into the house without Amanda noticing, so that it would be there first thing in the morning. Now, normally, this would be a breeze. Just wait for Amanda to pass out, whether it's in the living room or the kitchen or the bedroom, because when she's asleep, she is gone. She could sleep through an explosion. However, that's not exactly the situation that we had at this one point in our lives. Since we had Rowan, who woke up to feed every 2 to 3 hours, Amanda was also getting up every 2 to 3 hours, as was I. So I had to find a very specific time in between those 2 to 3 hour windows to get this tree in place without her noticing. Now, I don't know if you have ever tried to function on sleeping 2 to 3 hours at a time. Even if you do it through the night, it really messes with you. And during those moments in between sleep where you do wake up, it is extremely difficult to function. I mean, so hard. I was like a zombie. And so I was going to have to find some kind of way to make my zombie-like brain actually function like a cognitive, aware, living human being and move this tree into the house so that nobody would notice. So, one last bit of suspense, everybody. Do I or do I not pull that off? Okay, this is the day. It is Amanda Schorr, Clarksville's Queen of Halloween. It is her birthday, and I was able to surprise her with the tree that I spent an entire week putting together. Well, most of the week anyway. There were a couple of days I had to put it off because I was afraid she was going to find it. It almost didn't work out, and we'll get into that in a minute, but this time it's not just me. I've got Amanda here to tell me and everyone exactly what she thinks of this tree that I surprised her with in the living room this morning.
I think it's awesome. I absolutely love it. I wish we could leave it up all year, but unfortunately our house is a little bit too small. But yes, it is my second 29th birthday, and Matt did surprise me pretty hugely this morning when I got up. I had been up with the baby and fell asleep on the couch, only to wake up and turn over and see this huge tree all decked out with a skull on the top and a wraith hanging around one side, and some black, purple, and orange little ornament balls that are specifically made for Halloween. We actually got them last year, but just never had a chance to use them. So I'm very, very excited right now. I have no idea what we're going to do with this thing, but Super, super excited. I can't wait for Halloween to roll around so we can put it back up and then leave it up all the way until Christmas.
That sounds like a good plan. This was my humble effort at trying to follow up last year's gift, which was, of course, the full-size horse skeleton, which we have lovingly named Daredevil. I personally don't think this exceeds it, but hopefully it's a decent follow-up. What do you think?
I would say yes to both. I think it does exceed it because it took a whole lot more took a whole lot more planning, especially since I almost ruined the surprise twice. So yes, I would just say that I think it does succeed. Exceed. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I think it definitely does exceed Daredevil, at least as far as planning purposes go. I know Daredevil is probably a little bit harder to put together, but this one had more stuff to put together, so.
It is true. Daredevil I was able to put up in a single night, so yeah, a little easier in that sense. But I don't know. I guess it's the eye of the beholder. Some people think a giant horse skeleton looks cool. Some people think a giant white Christmas tree decked out with bones and a skull looks really cool.
I think both.
Okay, so like I said, it almost didn't happen because I wanted to put it up at a certain window that I had, and then Amanda insisted on sleeping on the couch for the last couple hours of the morning at that point, and I thought I had lost my window then and didn't know how I was going to pull it off. But on the bright side, she fell asleep and I was able to scoot it in there before she woke up. So almost didn't succeed. By the barest and slimmest of margins, pulled this off. So it's quite a happy birthday. Happy birthday again to the Clarksville's Queen of Halloween from Clarksville's King of Halloween here at Schorr Manor. And this podcast ends with a happy ending. I barely pull it off, but I pull it off, and that's what counts. As I believe Vin Diesel once said, winning is winning. And in this particular case, I won. So proud of pulling that thing off. With that, as the final thought, I will move into some quick plugs about us. As I mentioned before, we do have a Facebook page where you can check us out. That's facebook.com/Schorr Manor, SCHORRMANOR. Got lots of spooky content there, not to mention news and happenings about all kinds of stuff, including my webcomic. Also, there's stuff about our newsletter. You can check stuff like that out. All that good stuff. And you can also send us a message there. We'd love to hear from you, by all means. And you can also get t-shirts. How cool is that? You can let people know how much you love Schorr Manor and how cool and spooky you are. We would love to have your support there. So by all means, check that one out as well. And speaking of support, we also have a Patreon page. Patreon.com/Schorr Manor. Got lots of cool, spooky rewards we offer to people who'd like to support us there. Not to mention some cool digital content and exclusive early access to episodes like this one. So please check that out. I think you'll like what you find. You can also reach me directly on social media on Twitter at @TheMattSchorr and Instagram at TheSchorr. Additionally, you can also reach me by email at mattschorr@hotmail.com. And I have my own website, which is www.mattschorr.net. All kinds of cool stuff there, information about me, anything you might like to know about my current work, my past work, and my future work. Please, by all means, check that out. And so once again, thanks for checking this episode out, finding out if I actually pulled off this cool idea that I had for a unique Halloween birthday present for my wife. Hope you guys got a kick out of it, at least half as much of a kick out of it as she did. So, to cap this whole thing off, I'm going to go back to that recording that I did of Amanda and me, so that we can finish this episode out the way we finish all of our episodes out. Happy haunting!